Everyone, today we are going to talk about process control and about the mistake that many companies do when they want to apply it, which is waiting for the right moment, waiting for a problem to come up, waiting for urgency. And I'm going to show you now that this is a very big mistake. When you want to do process control and when you need the process control, probably too late. So let's go to my screen. Let's go to my screen. And this is Andreas Letros. And welcome to my life. If if you do quality control just to fix an issue, it is already too late. And most um, most process control projects will start when there is already a burning issue. And which what I mean about the burning issue is probably there is a quality control in the market. Probably there is lack of control. Maybe there is a lot of scraps. Maybe there is a machine degradation. And this is usually what happens because this is the only way that you can justify the costs and the investment that's required for a process control project. That's how you can basically be able to go to a manager, go to the factory owner, and ask for money to get the process control program. But if you're at this point, probably it's a little bit too late because when you have urgency, the more urgency you have, the more you wait before you do the intervention to the machine, the more you wait before doing interventions to the machine, the more time and effort it will be required to solve the problems. And I'll go now with an example. So, a merchant owned a ship which had a small leak. It cost a month's profit to repair. So, what he said, I'll fix it next quarter. Can't stop now. After a month, the leak grew. Now, the leak cost 6 months of profit to repair. I'll fix it next year. Can't stop now. Then, by the end of the year, the, the boat could barely stay afloat. Now the repair costs basically all his savings. Well, I can't afford to stop now. You can understand what happened, right? The ship sank. And so, what do we learn by that? Is that he should have done it, he should have fixed it earlier. The best time to fix a problem is when you first realize it is bad, and the second best time is right now. And the same applies to process control. The best time to implement process control is actually when machines are on the optimal state. If you operate in an uncontrolled way for a lot of time, the problems will tend to compound. And and then if you use we actually want to use the process control to prevent issues so that we do not wait to have breakdowns to do the interference, what we intervene before so we can prevent them and we can interfere in a very much more controlled way. And so I will show you two examples now. This is from a company, a factory that asked me to do a simulation for them because they want to do process control. And they didn't really have access to the data I'm showing you right now. They just had an Excel file that they were watching. And what you can see is that it's clear that there was a problem with their machine. But you could see that there were all those warnings, but they didn't want to interfere in the first warning that you can see on the screen. They didn't want to interfere in the second warning, In the third warning, they interfered when it went outside the tolerances. Obviously, the machine stopped. It created chaos, blocked the production line. It creates some urgency to fix the issue. And so this is when they interfered with the machine. If they had interfered before in the first warning, it would cost much less, it would much more controlled, and probably they would have saved a lot of quality issues. Let's go to another example. This is another example about temperature control. You can see that in many cases, you can see that there is a trend that is going out, is growing with time. If they had interfered when the trend started growing, it would have saved so many quality issues. Well, they interfered when there was outside of the tolerances. They created quality issues, and they paid for it because when you wait until you are outside of the tolerances, you will definitely have quality issues. This is going to be shown in the market, and this is going to be shown to your clients. If you interfere, if instead you interfere when you can start seeing the trend, nobody's going to figure it out. Your quality is going to stay stable, and you're never going to have problems in the market. Another crucial thing about process control is that when you have to handle multiple recipes and multiple models, for example, when you have multiple models, like let's say 100 to 200 models that you have to produce, you may have to produce also different recipes. And that means that without control, it is inevitable that some of those recipes are going to be outdated, poorly maintained, modified in a rush, or they will be disrupted in a way. And the more you operate without control, it means that the more outdated recipes you will end up having. And this is the example I'm showing you. You have 10 recipes, and two of them are behaving different than the others, which is usually what happens when you modify some recipes in a rush, or maybe they're the first recipes you created and they're outdated. Maybe you didn't maintain them properly, or maybe the operator that created them was not skilled enough. If you have no visibility about that, and the more years are passing, the more outdated recipes you will have, and with time, you may end up having mm, one third of your recipes outdated. Instead, if you do the proactive way and apply the process control, the first time you see outdated recipes, you will fix them, and this problem will be solved immediately. You will never have outdated recipes again. The more you wait, the more outdated recipes you will get. And the thing about outdated recipes, the more frustrating thing about it is that you end up having quality issues. You don't really understand why. And the reason you get them is so stupid. Just some recipes that had wrong parameters. And there is also another thing that I have to point out now. There is a compound effect on machine errors, which means that if a machine is performing poorly, the more time you wait before you interfere, the more investment it takes to fix it. And so sometimes you can quantify the damage only through process control. Your machine may have some problems, maybe behaving poorly, may have wrong parameters. If you don't really understand it quickly, it's going to compound. And when the breakdown happens, it's going to cost much, much, much less than just interfering the first time the machine started to break down. And I will show you an example here. This is from the same company that asked me to do a simulation for them. If you think about it clearly, I will give you with an example that most of people working in a factory will understand. Let's say that there is a machine that handles temperature or insulations or uh, injecting something. Maybe in the beginning, the problem starts with valve that needs to be cleaned. But if you don't interfere when the valve needs to be cleaned, which is an intervention that can take maximum half an hour, then after a month, you may have the valve that needs to be substituted, which can cost much more money and much more effort to do it. Then, if you don't interfere, then you may have a valve and the tubes that have issues, and then you may need to change both the valve and the tubes. And then, if you wait more, you may not be able to solve it by yourself, and you may need to call the machine provider, which will cost 10 times more the money than just cleaning the valve in the beginning. So this is what happens, and this is mainly the reason that you need to start the process control when you have the optimal parameters. And I'm going to close it now. I don't have any more to show, but if you want to conclude now, as I'm saying, most of the projects, most of the process control projects starts when there is an emergency. And it makes sense. It makes sense. It's much more easy for someone to be convinced to invest in a project when they have something concrete, when they have something concrete to solve. But this is a little bit too late when it happens. The best time to start the process control project is actually when the machines are in the optimal state, because when the machines are in the optimal state, your recipes are working correctly. Your machines are don't have any damage. Your quality is optimal, and you want to maintain it like that. If you wait 3 or 4 years after the optimal state to apply the burst control, what is going to happen is that you may have damage that is small and is compounding, and maybe it starts the first year. The third year is going to be much more costly to save it. The other thing is, unfortunately, you may end up having some wrong recipes. And while in the beginning you may start having 1, 2 wrong recipes, after 3 years, it may be 10, 20, or 30 wrong recipes that you need to fix. When you have a process control, when you work with me, you will have a way to understand when a recipe is outdated, needs fixing, and needs some intervention quickly so that you don't have this situation out of control. And the last part is that many times before a machine, we have a machine breakdown, it doesn't happen automatically. The machine is going to somehow alert you before. It's going to show you some signs. It's not going to happen from day suddenly. You may see it suddenly, but it's not going to be sudden. And the only way to understand it is through data. If you see the data, the machine is going to show you progressively that's degrading. So what I do with my clients when we go on process control is that we see first the trends. We understand before the machine is going to break down, if it's going to break down, and we do the interference before the problem gets worse. And this way you save so much time, you save money, and you prevent quality issues. So if you are thinking of starting process control, you have some machines that you want to put under control, the best thing is to start now. Don't wait for problems to occur. Start to control them when they are in the optimal state so that you can maintain this optimal state for as long as possible. And if you have already waited for 2 or 3 years to postpone to control your machines, the best time to start is actually now. Don't wait 3 more years that the machines are going to degrade even more and they are going to start having quality issues, machine breakdowns, and problems for the final client. So, this was Andreas Letros. Thank you so much for participating in this live, and I will see you in the next week. Just remember, don't wait for the problem to get urgent. Act now, so that you can save for tomorrow.